Yo, what's up everyone? In this video, we'll be talking about functions in Python. So let's dive in. As usual, all the notes and the code are available in the GitHub repository. And the link of that repository is attached in this video description. So without much ado, let's dive in. So a function is a block of code that performs a specific task. And in this video, we'll focus on creating our own functions. So a function basically has three parts. There is function declaration, function definition, and function call. And that's exactly what we'll do in this video. So in Python, there is no function declaration. Just like we saw in variables, there's nothing like variable declaration. We declare as we assign at the same time. That's the same thing with function. We just we just declare the function as we define it. And to declare a function in Python, use the def keyword. So just write def, then the name of the function. Let me just say greet. Then I put this parenthesis. Then I put a semicolon. Then here you put the code that you want to run. So in this case, I want to print some lines of code. And this function to print some lines of code. So I'll just put my function body there. I just say print. Let me say hello, done. Then the next line I'll print also. I'll just say something like welcome back or hello done, how are you? So what I've done here, I have created a function called greet. And this function just prints hello done and prints how are you. So essentially what you are doing is you're just taking some few lines of code and putting them in a group. And this group is what is known as a function. So whenever we say greet, we'll just see that in a moment. Well, let's just continue these notes. Now we know how to define a function. The other part is to call a function. So to call a function is the process of executing that function. It's also called the function invocation. To invoke a function is just to call it. So to call a function, just write the function name, like in this case, greet. Then I put my parenthesis. So now, if I save this code and run it, you'll see in the console, these lines will be executed. It will just say, hello Dan, how are you? But if I didn't call this function, for example, if I remove this line 5, if I just remove it and save it and run this code, nothing will happen because I have already defined a function, but I have not called it. So you can see nothing happens. So for a function to be executed, you have to call it. And that is what we did there. And also you can call a function multiple times. It's not a must that I call it once. I can call it multiple times. For example, if I wanted this line of code to be run like thrice, I'll call this function 3 times. I'll just duplicate this code to 3. So I can call a function more than once. And if I call it 3 times and run this code, this function will be executed 3 times because I've called it thrice. And you can see it will say, hello Dan, how are you? 3 times. So you might ask, what are the benefits of having functions? One is you can save lines of code if your function is large. For example, you want to do a huge task that you want to, and that task you may want to use it a lot of times. So you might have a function to do that. So whenever you want to do that task, instead of just repeating those lines of code, you can store those lines of code in a function. Like here, for example, if I wanted to greet people a lot of times, instead of writing these 2 lines every time, I can just store it in a function. Then whenever I need these 2 lines of code, I'll just be calling that function. So anywhere in this program, if I need these 2 lines of code, I can just say greet, and those lines will be executed. That's the first advantage or benefit of functions. The other thing is that you update. It's easy to read, and also you can update it easily. For example, if I wanted to change the name here from Dan to Mary, I can just change one place. I can just leave that and say Mary. And keep in mind, I might have used this code in this function in many places in my code. But if I just change it here and run this code, all those places where I use the function will be changed. You can see to just say hello Mary, how are you every time. So those are the advantages of function. One, it saves you lines of code. 2, you only have one source of truth, that is, you'll not repeat code, and whenever you need changes, you can just update one spot. And also it improves readability of your code. You can see this one is easier to read. Instead of writing print, these two print statements every time, I can just store them one place, then I just call it. That way is easier to read. Okay, so that is it with the introduction of functions. Just to summarize, there's function definition and function call. You have to define a function, then you call it. So see you in the next video. We'll continue learning about functions. We'll talk about the return statement. See you there. Peace out.